Glass early reviews. Shyamalan's Unbreakable and Split sequel is a mess. Reviews are coming in for M. Night Shyamalan's, a movie that takes place in the same universe as Unbreakable and Split. It's been 20 years now since young Haley Joel Osment saw dead people in Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. A supernatural thriller that put his name on the map and made him one of the hottest directors in Hollywood. The filmmaker would go on to reunite with Sixth Sense actor Bruce Willis 1 year later on Unbreakable, a comic book-inspired thriller that was generally well received but nowhere near as successful as Shyamalan's ghost story. The superhero movie genre underwent a renaissance that's earned Shyamalan's film, itself, a deconstruction of comic book superhero tropes - a newfound level of reverence and appreciation in the years since its release. It goes without saying. But a whole lot has changed since Unbreakable was released. At the same time, Shyamalan's career took a dive after his initial success and the filmmaker became something of a laughingstock, mocked for the recurring elements of his work, especially his twist endings, that made his name in the first place. Then, in a twist worthy of Shyamalan, the storyteller made a comeback, beginning with his 2015 found-footage thriller The Visit and continuing on to 2017 Split, a stealthy continuation of Unbreakable and one of his best-received, and most lucrative, films in years. Everyone's been waiting to see if Shyamalan's hot streak continues with. Not least of all because it brings the casts from Unbreakable and Split together for, supposedly, one last film. We've rounded up excerpts from the first wave of reviews below, for those anxious to find out what critics are making of the film so far. The Rap's Monica Castillo calls a stylish but shallow sequel, explaining, performances aside, Glass is a pretty mixed bag of exposition-filled dull moments and pedantic dialogue. Shyamalan, who also wrote the movie, unloads comic book knowledge at the expense of character development, going so far as to explain what a showdown is and having a character give a brief history of the comics medium. Which seems extraneous in a world where superhero movies have opened in theaters every summer for the past decade. That moment would have worked in 2000, but nowadays, any kid on an American playground has heard of the Avengers. Despite its flaws, the movie has a fair share of entertaining scenes, usually the ones involving all three leads. However messy, Shyamalan still has a few tricks up his sleeve when tying the threads of these separate movies together. Variety's Owen Gilberman expresses a similar sentiment in his review, saying the film holds you without haunting you. Shyamalan, though, as he proved with Split, can still win over an audience, and in Glass he's a poised and confident filmmaker who seizes our attention. Yet the movie, watchable as it is still a disappointment, because it extends and belabors the conceits of Unbreakable without the sensation of mystical dark discovery that made that film indelible. It turns the earlier film's ominous pop poetry into over-explicit blockbuster prose. Glass is a sequel that feels more dutiful than necessary. Film's Chris Evangelistou is even more critical of the film in his review, calling a huge, unfortunate step backwards after Shyamalan's recent successes in his past work. Shyamalan has displayed a wonderful knowledge of cinematic language, and a masterful control of the camera. But none of that is on display in Glass, which only has a few memorable shots spliced into a visually bland, flat space. This becomes even more noticeable when the director cuts in some deleted scenes from Unbreakable, which look gorgeous, atmospheric, and, well, cinematic. Where did the filmmaker who shot those scenes 19 years ago disappear to? Like Superman exposed to kryptonite, Shyamalan has lost all his powers directing Glass. Source: Various, see the above links, developing. I can only hope he gets them back soon.